to the Survivor Savant podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Newport, the self-proclaimed Survivor Savant himself. Today, I will be talking about my thoughts and feelings about Survivor, the Australian Outback, episodes 1 through 3. I'm pretty happy that we're on this season right now. It's a new location, new season, the days are longer, and the contestants, I would say, are kind of more vibrant than ever, and for definitely a lot of reasons. That's why. But no, so at the start of the season, my goodness, the contestants don't arrive by boat and jump off of it as soon as they get their supplies. They are flying in by plane. They're in this military plane provided by the Royal Australian Air Force, and Jeff is doing his narration about Australia and how it's one of the roughest places to survive. But hey, if the Aboriginals can do it by surviving what they can off the land, then I don't know, these contestants probably have it going for them. But no, it's a totally different setting now. They're not in the jungle. They're in the hot terrain in the Australian and the Outback. It's very different. And then the wildlife are probably going to be more dangerous when they come across like dingoes and crocodiles, and that's going to be and you can't forget about spiders too. I mean, those things are small, but they're vicious. Bruh, I'm not kidding you. When I don't know if I'm ever going to Australia, but one thing I am wary of if I'm going to Australia is seeing those big freaking tarantulas or spiders that they have in houses. I remember watching one episode of Ridiculousness, and there was this big spider on the wall, and the guy was trying to get it, and it was just jumping off, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm sorry to those, again, who don't like spiders. I apologize about doing that to you, but I just had to get it off my chest. But no, like I was saying before, it's a new season, new contestants, and also the expansion from 39 to 42 days. That's an interesting big change, and I'm kind of curious why they did that. And well, I can think of two reasons why. One, they want to see what changes they can make to make it more interesting, and changing it from 39 to 42 is definitely a bigger change. I mean, if I remember right, I don't know how many days Australian Survivor go for. I think it was like, was it 82? That would be crazy if they did 82 days. That would be absolutely crazy. But no, they keep it around the 42 for this season to last out there in the Australian Outback. So, going in, there are new contestants. Oh, by the way, the intro for this season, like the intro music, I absolutely love it. I love how for each season they do like a different theme by using national instruments from different countries. Like, for example, with Australia here, they incorporated an Australian instrument called a didgeridoo. It's really cool. I love the sound that it makes. If I could give you guys a sound effect, it would be like I can't do it. I'm not a beatboxer. I mean, yes, I'm actually a beatboxer. Fun fact, I actually do beatboxing. I could do a quick demo for you guys right now. Oh, if I could. Alright. Let me see if I can. Alright, that's your little taste of my beatboxing there. Okay. Flat out. I have this friend back in high school. His name's also Nathan Jordan. I mean, well, my name's Nathan Newport, but his name's Nathan Jordan. I call him Jordan, that way people don't confuse us whenever we say, hey Nathan, yeah? And we had this duo back in high school when we did a talent show together called Tribal Beats. it was fun. I absolutely loved him and his beatboxing. By the way, if you guys ever heard of Nathan Jordan, his Instagram account name is Short Haired Hippie. Check out his Twitch streaming. You can find it on his account, and he's a cool dude. I love talking to him when I get the chance to. And Jordan, if you're hearing this right now, man, I hope you're doing well. And man, it's been a while. Let's collaborate together again. But no, but like I was saying, I love the intro for this season. I love the instruments that they use and the cinematography that they use during the intro while introducing us to the cast is really cool. We'll absolutely love it. But anyway, after the intro, the plane lands, and on the airfield, we can see kangaroos are already there watching the events unfold. And then we're introduced to our tribes, Kucha and Ogakor. They're the Aboriginal names for the animals, kangaroo, which is Kucha, and crocodile, which is Ogakor. Now, for the Kucha tribe, which will always wear blue, we have Kimmy Kappenberg, who is a bartender from Long Island, Michael Scoopin, who is a dad and a software engineer, I believe, a software coordinator, or one of those. We have Deb Eden, who is a correctional officer. We have Roger. Oh my goodness. I feel bad for forgetting about his name. I'm so sorry, Roger. They sometimes call him Kentucky Joe. That's also some fun. And while I'm watching this, I'm like, Kentucky Joe? His name is Roger, dadgummit! But no, that's just poking fun. But Roger's a good dude. I love him. He's from Kentucky, obviously, going by his nickname. We have Alicia. We have Alicia, who is a personal trainer from New York. And we have... oh my goodness. Let's see. We have... oh yeah! Nick Brown, who is a Harvard Law student from San Francisco. For those of you guys who don't know who Nick Brown is actually pretty popular right now as far as, well, I don't know, popular like running for election goes, but you know, he's become I think he was a senator now, or maybe a congressman, if I remember right. And he's pretty up there now after his fame from Survivor. But that's interesting how he got started on TV and now he's like a congressman or a politician. It's interesting. And speaking of which, next we have Elizabeth Filarski, who later on in life becomes Elizabeth Hasselbeck. She was originally a footwear designer before Survivor, and ever since then, she has become a co-host on a show called The View. So she has gone pretty well for herself ever since her star on Survivor. And I don't watch The View a lot, but it's interesting how people's career on Survivor immediately go shifting towards a direction that nobody finds himself on. Now that she's gone from Survivor contestant to View host, that's interesting. All right, then finally we have Jeff Varner. Now, those of you who know who Jeff Varner is, he has had quite the history on Survivor, but this was the season where he got his start, and he was a projects manager, I believe, a digital projects manager. So he worked on his computer a lot, and boy oh boy, Jeff had a lot of character. I'll give him that. He really did. Now, he is also known for another thing in later season, but we'll get that at another point. Alright, moving on from Kucha to Ogakor, which will always wear green, we have Marilyn, aka Mad Dog, who is a retired police officer. Then we have Colby Donaldson, who is an auto customizer from the great state of Texas. I mean, I'm from California and he's from Texas. And he sometimes get the nickname Captain America because, you know, anybody who's from Texas is considered to be, you know, like the All-American, as what you can see in some contestants in a later season. But no, Colby Donaldson was one of the originals. Like, of course he's one of the originals since it's the early season. But no. Yeah, he's definitely the perfect description of Captain America. And then after, we also get other contestants like we also get Amber Burkich, who was an administrative assistant at a time, and then later on, as Survivor goes, we see her appear again in another season, which, by the way, is probably one of the best seasons she's ever played for a reason, but we'll also get to that in another point. Then we have Mitchell, who is a singer and songwriter, and we also have Tina Wesson, who is a mom and a personal nurse from Knoxville, Tennessee. Then we have Keith, who is a chef. Then we also have, I think it was, oh my goodness, Jerry Manthe, the freaking actress from Hollywood, who some people sometimes call her Black Widow, and as we get further into this episode, I'll say why. And then finally, Kel. He was a Army officer from Fort Hood, Texas, I believe. I think it was Fort Hood. But anyway, we are introduced to the contestants, and we immediately can get going as far as getting supplies go. Now, they're told that they need to get their supplies, and then they have to take a 5-mile hike from their point that they start from to their base camps along the Herbert River, which is where their campsite is. They have like a beach there along with a canoe, and they'll see their camp by their tribe flag once they get there. Now, I can imagine that going on a hike with all the supplies that they had to carry was absolutely very hard. They can tell us flat out that it was hard having to carry stuff and having to go over rocks and logs, and also they had a map. I remember Kucha, they had a map and they were having a hard time navigating thanks to Nick, because he didn't know how to read a compass properly. And then you have Deb, the corrections officer around the tribe. She was Deb means well, as Kimmy would say. She means well, but she can come across very harsh in some cases, where she's being very authoritative, which would make sense for somebody whose job is a corrections officer. And you know, they were having a hard time navigating, and Kimmy, he was not taking it lightly from a Deb with her brash directiveness, I believe it's called. But we go with them on the hike, and then we see Michael. He's very experienced as far as being out in the wilderness goes, as we will see in later on in the episode, along with future episodes. Then going back to Ogakor, and then with Ogakor, you know, they're also feeling the pressure, I should say, the pressure from carrying all the weight of the supplies that they had to carry across to where they're going in order to get to the camp. And then out of nowhere, Keith decides to go at it alone and decide it's to head off ahead to see if he can find the area. This immediately gets Jerry's attention as to thinking that she's probably thinking Keith is out for himself, when in reality, I don't think he isn't. He's just really trying to get us there, or get them there. So that's going to be, as we will see throughout the season, Jerry and Keith absolutely butt heads with each other, especially when it comes to like cooking. But that happens later. But anyway, both tribes get to their camps, and immediately for Kucha, they don't even consider the fact to look around to see if there are any crocodiles peeking out in the water. They just immediately just dive straight in to the water after celebrating that they made it to their camp on time. Which there wasn't, by the way. I don't think there were any crocodiles there, so they had nothing to worry about. Maybe some birds who like being in the water or some fish, but no crocodiles, as far as I've seen. And then, after they realized, oh no, they need to set up camp quick because it was going to get cold later as the night came. Which it does. Not gonna lie, it does get cold later on. And they immediately start building on the shelter. And once again, Deb is just like, she's telling people what to do, and if that's not enough, then you have Michael here telling people how they need to build the shelter and what structure they need to have it in. He says that he's got a background in construction and he thinks he knows what's best. But then you have Roger over here, freaking Kentucky Joe, who's not only a farmer and a father, but he's also a teacher who's actually taught some carpentry, which is handy, especially when you're building a structure out of wood. So Roger knows what he's doing. Meanwhile, you got Michael over here telling people how it should be built when he's not actually including himself in actually building the structure, at least from what people see. So you got that. So we can already see going in that Michael's definitely trying his hardest to try to be the leader of Kucha. Even if people see it like that, they absolutely agree that he is not the leader, which I can agree. Let's be honest here. Throughout Survivor, people who try to position themselves as the leader type immediately are hated because they start ordering and bossing you around, and people don't like to be bossed around. People don't want to be told what to do. I think that also comes across as, here's the thing. As long as you know what you're doing and you're actually leading by example, then you're good as far as that goes. But if you're constantly being like a dictator or telling everybody what to do when you're not even showing that you know what you're doing, then you got a terrible thing going for you, and you have absolutely put yourself in the worst position, and that it could possibly get booted off easy, as we'll see in later seasons. But moving on from that to Ogakor, we see that for Ogakor, or as they're building a shelter, Colby, Mr. Texas himself, brought a Texas flag as his comfort item for two reasons. One, he wants to see two things that he's thankful for in the morning. One, he's thankful he's alive, and two, he's thankful he's a Texan. Okay, well, here's the thing, buddy. I mean, not that I won't argue for you bringing the flag as a tarp. That's really helpful. At the same time, bro, don't rub it in too much. I ask you not to, rub it in. I mean, don't get me wrong. Just because I'm from California, you don't see me bringing, a California flag or talk like a freaking California surfer boy. I'm not going to express my California-ness because of that. And, I mean, I'm not bothered by it too much. Just don't rub it in is all I'm saying. Just as long as you're not rubbing in, Texas is the most awesome state. No. I mean, no offense to people who are from Texas. I'm sorry if you guys are from Texas and you're listening. And I apologize about that. But you're proud of your state. That's cool. I 100% and support you with that. Just as long as you're not showboating it, But anyway, with that said, we get further into the shelter building process and trying to get camp life going. We see for Ogakor that Keith is trying his hardest to make a fire and try to be the kind of provider for his tribe. You know, he's bringing firewood along with Tina and Marilyn, aka Mad Dog, and it's, for the most part, it's good that they had firewood. But as far as fires getting started goes, they're doing the whole like system where they have this like wooden bow tool with the string, and if you keep pulling the bow back and forth while also having the stick as like, you know how in cartoons, like if you put your hands between the stick and you start rubbing it, that you can get a fire going. That's similar to what they're doing, you know, with the wooden bow and the string as far as getting the fire started goes, but so far it hasn't been helping. And then Jerry, she thinks that it's helpful to bring the luxury item, which was a bongo, to help the fire making going. So as Keith is trying to like rub the bow back and forth to start a fire, Jerry's just banging on the bongo drum trying to see if it's going to work, and for the most part it's getting smoke. And then once he thinks it was hot enough, he tried to light the hay or grass that he had on fire, but nothing. So even Jerry's magic bongo wasn't enough to freaking help, which was unfortunate for Ogakor. So that sucks. But going back to Kucha, they also have trouble making fire, and it's hard. And I remember one of them tried to like start a fire with the glasses that one of the contestants had, which I think it was Alicia. And then Roger, he brought his Bible with him as a luxury item, and he started tearing some pages out. Not pages that had any scriptures on it, but most like pages that are like blanks from the front. Oh, excuse me, I almost burped. That would have been disgusting. But no, he tore out the pages that were blank, and as he was looking for it, he had a message written from his son-in-law, and he didn't have any glasses with him because he couldn't read well, so he asked someone else to read for him, and it was really heartfelt, and Roger got really emotional about it because he got some notes from his family, which was great. I love that. Good for Roger. But as we get further into the episode goes, Michael is once again trying to prove that he's the leader, and he's going out there and he finds figs to be precise, and as they were collecting figs, Michael took a bite out of one of them, and he immediately starts spitting it out, and for good reason, because the fruit had bugs inside of them. Oh, I cannot, like, I don't want to like get into specific details about it for you who don't like to think about bugs because you think they're creepy and crawly, which I will refrain from. But think of like how ants would crawl into ant hills, and picture the ant hill instead of think about fruit. Like that's literally what it looked like when they opened the fruits up and they see the bugs inside. It was gross. I'm not gonna lie, it was gross. But even Jeff was like, I am so hungry right now. I am wanting to eat that fruit. He didn't even care about the bugs. Not gonna lie, I would though. Like, alright. Straight up. Right now, I am dealing with the heat down here where I live, and one of the other things that I'm trying to deal with is the fact that there are some bugs who doesn't want to be around this heat, and they would like to be inside the house, as we can see from the multiple flies that like to be hanging around our kitchen. And it's annoying to have them land on plates and have them almost near your food, and that's really annoying. So That's kind of what it reminds me of. So we get later into Nyakucha, and Kimmy, she absolutely loves to talk and use her mouth a lot. She kept talking while everybody was trying to sleep, especially Jeff. Jeff was originally annoyed by it, and he thinks it's so annoying that she just wants to grab her by the neck and start strangling her. That sounds really violent. And yeah, that would fed me up too, but I mean, yeah, he didn't actually do it, just so we're clear. He didn't actually do it. I don't think he's been driven that mad enough to start strangling people if he's been out there that long. But yeah, it could get really crazy for people out there if they've lasted that long and they're dealing with people like that. That would drive people absolutely crazy. But that's not the only thing that can make Kimmy so irritatable, as we'll see in later episodes. But no, we get into the first immunity challenge of the season, Quest for Fire. Now this challenge was originally aired last season, and we got to see it unfold. And this season, it's a new area, therefore we have a new immunity aisle, not a hidden immunity aisle, a new immunity aisle. I like the style of it. I'll just say it. The style of it is like this totem pole with some Aboriginal painting on him, along with dots and like a face mask, and you see the eyes and the feathers on top. They even have this like handle for the contestants to grab a hold of, and I think it's cool. I love the designs that they do for it. And then we get into the first immunity challenge, which is Quest for Fire. The reward is waterproof matches. For the challenge, there are several legs. There are like several. I'm sounding like Jelinski. But no, there are 4 legs. The first leg is a broken bridge where they have to get across the bridge, but they also have these planks that are different lengths, so they would have to use the planks to get across the gaps of the bridge. And once they're done with that, they move on to the next obstacle, which is to get their flame and put it on a raft, and they would have to guide the raft across the water and get across to the other side with their torch and get up the net ladder. And once they've gone across that, they immediately can go to the next obstacle, which they would have to get on another raft, which is tied to a rope, and they would have to like grab the rope and start tugging on it in order to get across to the other side. And then once that's done, they also have these at the end, well, at the beginning of the third leg, there are these ladder rungs. And when they get to the ladder tower where the final torch pit is, they have to put the rungs on the ladder, climb up it, and the first to light the fire wins the torch, the matches and the immunity idol. Now we can see that Ogre has got a good start, and Kucha is kind of stumbling behind, which is pretty good for them, especially with Mad Dog, as we'll see in later episodes. But no, Ogre's got a good lead. They're getting quite a bit ahead, and Kucha is falling behind. They had their torch lit, and I remember on like the third leg that they lose the raft tips over with them on it, and they put out the torch. That is unfortunate. Luckily, they had like these extra fire bins that are floating on the water so that they can light their torch again if they accidentally get put out, which was good. But it still didn't work out for Kucha because Ogre, after they got all the ladder rungs up there, Mitchell climbed up for Ogre and they won immunity and the matches, so that way they can get fired tonight. Which means Kucha had to go to the tribal council, and that's bad really bad for Akucha. Now, before they get to tribal council, though, there are talks about who would they vote out. Some of them thought about Kimmy because she can't stop talking. She likes to yap her little mouth. And then there was also talks from Deb about how she wanted to keep the team strong. And she noticed that Jeff was kind of getting sick, as we see from the scene where he's like vomiting, and which is bad. So Deb just starts talking to other people about how Jeff's wanting to go, even though we see that Jeff showed no signs that he wanted to go. He shows that he was sick, but he didn't say anything about wanting to go. And Alicia told Jeff about it, and Jeff is like infuriated that there were talks about him, and that immediately starts putting a target on Deb, not just because of her loud voice, but also her need to, like, she didn't necessarily lie about it. Like, Deb has good intentions, but at the same time, she kind of, like, lied about Jeff wanting to go, even though she didn't mean to lie. She was looking out for her tribe. Unfortunately, that little incident there might have caused her. As we see them go to the tribal council, now this season, the tribal council is new. Instead of being in the jungle, it's up on the cliffs next to this awesome waterfall, and I love the setting that they have for tribal council. They got these different rock formations, almost like, not Stonehenge-like, but kind of similar. And then on the rocks, you can see all these like aboriginal whole paintings and finger paintings and drawings, and I absolutely love that. Then you got fires all set around them. Then you got bridges that connect from tribal council to the voting booths and to the exit. I love it. And I also love the design of the torches too, where the stem of the torches or the poles almost look twisted like branches would, and then you got the torch cone looking similar. I mean, not similar as last season's, but you know, it looks like what you would expect from a torch. Now, they're introduced to tribal council, and they all have their talks about how the last few days have been and the struggle they had during the hike, and who they get along with and who they don't get along with. And then we immediately get into the vote, and we see that there are some people who want to vote for this person, and as all the votes are casted, we get Jeff to read the votes, and Deb voted for Jeff. Meanwhile, the rest of the tribe, the first person voted out of the Kucha tribe was Deb, and it sucks because she brought this upon herself, mostly because she he lied in order to keep the tribe strong, but that ended up causing her to go. She absolutely got offended that she go because she didn't do any of the things, like she didn't want to like be lazy, she didn't struggle in the challenges, she didn't do any of that, but yet somehow she got herself voted off. And that's the result of what you have to be careful to say to other people, because that could end up coming back to bite you, which is what we saw from Deb. Now, there have been instances where she has talked about her, if she would do it again, she wouldn't change a thing, and she had also said that she doesn't want to ever do it again because of that, which is unfortunate, but, you know, this adventure can have different effects on different people, and that was unfortunately the effect that it had on Deb. We get into episode 2 now, and for episode 2, we see on Ogakor that Kel has been trying to help out the tribe by going out there fishing. Unfortunately, Kel is not quite the best fisherman, as we'll see in this episode. Like, he has hooks that he's got from supplies, and then he doesn't have the regular like fishing line he's found like twine, which is not good because it's floatable, and he tried tying a rock to it, but he knows for a fact that's not gonna work because that can immediately get attention to fish to immediately get them swimming away. I almost said floating, jeez. And even Colby notices it, like, and Jerry too. She's like, stick to your day job. And that's not the last time we'll see Jerry critique about or tell bad things about Kel. But anyway, another thing we notice is that Jerry, she likes to poke at Keith about his cooking, because when we see Keith cook, well, I think it was actually okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've said it before, I don't like rice. I don't like how you cook rice, it's just disgusting to me. But we see in a couple episodes where rice could be kind of mushy, which to some people that's how they want it to be cooked. And when you have like a personal chef like Keith here, you think, I don't know, maybe he can do something good with the rice. But no, Jerry doesn't like it. She likes her rice her way. So instead, she had this like flour and she mixes it with water and she made this kind of like tortilla, which everybody loved, including Keith. He's not gonna lie, he liked it. But Jerry kind of sensed some, what's the word? I'm just gonna say that Keith, Jerry thought Keith's words were kind of misleading. Like she can read through it, which is bad because it's unfortunate that people can't get along. But at the same time, you know, people have different people that they get along with. And this isn't the last time we see Jerry act a certain way, though. Jerry, later on, as the episode goes on, we see Jerry kind of necessarily told a lie in some case where, well, I don't know if she was lying or Kel was actually doing something, but Jerry thought she saw Kel stick something in his mouth what looked like to be beef jerky. And Marilyn, I think, caught notice of that and thinks she was lying. And Kel was telling everybody that he knew that people thought he had beef jerky, but he didn't. It was just some grass that he stuck into his mouth. And some people, well, even Mitchell thought was like, he thinks that he's lying. Like, and it's, I'm not gonna lie, if somebody was lying about having a food source that he wasn't gonna tell anybody about, I would get pissed off too. Because that's our food. You should be sharing that with the team because we're suffering out here. And, you know, that's a bad thing to go off of. Not just because, okay, Kel is not a good fisherman, and the fact that there's this instance where he's accused of smuggling beef jerky or something like that, which, by the way, Survivor rules state that you cannot bring any food items with you, only like something personal for you to bring, as far as like a Bible or a flag or some acrylic paints that we'll see in a later season, even war paint, as we'll see from Michael that he uses. But no, food is not allowed. And then we have Kucha. Now we once again see Michael's trying to step up as leader, even going as far as cooking rice early in the morning without the tribe's consent, which is really bad because he's deciding things for them, which are supposed to be like group decisions, because now they're kind of like upset at him that he's kind of wasting the food rationing, which is bad. And then he also had there was also an instance where he caught food for his camp, like fish, and after the fish was cooked, everybody was praying and he was thanking God for making him the leader of his tribe. And even after that, Kimmy kind of criticized about, I don't remember us deciding that Michael was the leader, but I guess he was brought on by God to be the leader. Okay, let's be real here. God did not choose you to be a leader for your tribe. God only wants to do what's best for you. And You only wanted to be a leader because you wanted to be a leader, not because God told you to. Let's be real here. I'm just saying. I have my religion, and I know what God wants me not to do. So, there's a difference, in my opinion. There's an absolute difference between God wanting you to and what He doesn't want you to. But nonetheless, as we'll see further in this episode, we get to the first reward challenge of the season. This challenge is called Butch Cassidy. And what you have to do is you have to jump off a cliff into the water and then swim yourself over to your colored tribe crate. And when you get there, the next person jumps off. Once you have all the tribe members at your crate, you have to swim that crate over to the base camp. The first tribe to get their crate over to the base camp wins a reward. In this case, it would be a blanket or a tarp. Now, this challenge has only appeared twice. This season and season 24, which is One World. Unfortunately, it did not get finished in that season, but I'll explain why. I mean, for some of you, you might know. But, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like this challenge was kind of reincarnated in a way where people are still jumping off of, like, higher platforms, as we've seen in the newer seasons. So I think they brought this challenge back, in my opinion, where they jump off a high platform into the water. I feel like they brought that challenge back, just in a different way, I believe. Nonetheless, we get into the challenge, and we've seen about most people jump off the cliff into the water, but the person who had the biggest hesitation about it was Roger. He's not good. Water doesn't agree with him, or some case where he's not very good at swimming, it seems. And when he gets into the water, he's having trouble swimming. Even Michael had to go over there to help him get to the crate. But Ogakor eventually got it done, and Ogakor won the reward, which was the blankets that was inside the crate. We get later into the episode where it is revealed that the next challenge is the disgusting food eating challenge. Now, last season, this was only done with bugs, but this time they brought a lot of different delicacies that you can find out here in the Outback that the Aboriginals eat. They had bugs, cow brains, to giant grasshoppers, to tripe, which was a cow's stomach lining, and I think one of them was moth larvae and a mangrove worm. But there are also some little extras in there as well. If you land on an apple, you get to eat an apple, and then if you land on a candy bar, you got to eat the candy bar. Now, we've seen some people struggle in this challenge, but one of them I will point out absolutely is Kimmy, who is a self-proclaimed vegetarian. She doesn't eat meat. She doesn't eat any land roaming animals. So when she was up on her turn, she was asked to eat a cow brain. She absolutely refused because she doesn't want to eat it. She wants to stick to her vegetarian roots. Which, to me, people have their lifestyles, and I'm not a vegetarian. I love meat. I love vegetables too, but I love meat. I consider myself to be an omnivore. An omnivore who like to eat mostly. Eat meat, mostly. And, I don't know. When it comes to challenges, I kind of feel upset about that because you're costing your tribe a win. And this could possibly result in you going home because you refuse to eat meat for a challenge, despite your beliefs in not eating meat. But it's like a pacifist refusing to fight in the middle of a war, like in Hacksaw Ridge. But no, Kimmy does kind of reveal herself where when it ends up in a tie and the tribes have to pick one person from the opposing tribe who they seem the most squeamish. Kimmy was one of them. The other one was Tina from Ogakor, and they each had to eat a whole mangrove worm. And Kimmy was like, I can eat a worm. I give you an award. And we get the challenge started, and immediately Kimmy just starts diving into that mangrove worm. She even dropped a piece, but she picked it up and puts it in her mouth, and she won it for Kucha. So Kucha's safe. They're not going to tribal council again. And then we get Ogakor going. Now, we've seen instances where people were kind of picking who they wanted to go. One was Jerry because of her attitude towards some tribe mates like Keith and Kel. And then people were considering Kel because he's kind of a bit of a loner on his tribe. Like, he's not participating enough with the others. So we get to tribal council, and unfortunately the second person voted out and the first member to be voted out of Ogakor was Kel, which is sad because Kel was a nice guy, and I guess in a game like this, nice guys normally don't get to win all that much, which sucks. But Kel was voted out, unfortunately. And I will say this though, after Kel's elimination, he got back at Jerry for the beef jerky incidents because he was being accused of eating beef jerky. He was able to like get a bargain off of selling beef jerky back on his base, and people were loving it. So that's your little karma there, Jerry, because Kelly got to be promoted for some like beef jerky. So we get into the next episode, and we see at Ogakor that they have like their own like, alright, so their camps are along the Herbert River, but at Ogakor they have their like own whirlpool, which is cool. I love whirlpools. I love to like swim in those. You get the current rowing as you're in the river. That's cool. That's fun. And then we see Jerry try to connect with Colby, like flirting, romantically connecting. But, you know, everybody loves a cowboy, as we can see from Jerry saying that she loves a cowboy with Colby. But I hate to inform you guys, nothing happens out of this. They're still friends to this day, but nothing happens. They don't get a relationship whatsoever. So, all that flirting that Jerry did. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Jerry is nicknamed Black Widow because of her lying and her ways of being conniving and kind of being vicious towards others as far as critiquing people and trying to annoy them and poke buttons. And that mostly works on Keith. The only people who seem to like Jerry are Amber and Mitchell. But no, I think Jerry's cool. I think Jerry is awesome. I follow her on Instagram, and shoot, if I can get her to be like a co-host on this podcast, I think that would be cool. But we see Jerry. Oh wait, we see Tina and Mad Dog talk to each. I'm sorry, I heard like a loud motor going on outside. It's kind of disturbing. But anyway, we see Tina and Mad Dog talk to each other, mostly because they are the older women on the tribe. I mean, Tina's like in her 40s at the time, but you know, she still felt like one of the older women. And then we know that Mad Dog could possibly be voted out because she is seen as weak. And another person who's also seen as weak is Mitchell. Okay, let's be honest. When it comes to like age, Mitchell wins for that because he's young, while Marilyn doesn't seem all that physically strong. But when it comes to camp life though, she does help out a lot, while Mitchell just kind of lays along there. And Marilyn can be sometimes helpful in the challenges as far as physical, some endurance is considered her and mental wise. But as we see later in this episode, go on an obstacle course, she does stumble a bit. But another instance that we see on Kucha, as far as relating. So on Okakor we have Tina and Mad Dog, and on the other tribe we have Roger and Elizabeth. Now their connection is like a father-daughter relationship, and shoot, even Roger found this like heart-shaped rock that she gave to her so that way she can give him to his boyfriend, soon-to-be future husband, which is kind of cute. I absolutely love that. We then see... Okay, so just like how Jerry and Keith are kind of conflicting against each other, we also see Michael and, I think, Alicia kind of conflicting with each other. And Michael still believes that he's the leader of his team, even when he's convincing everyone that there is a wild boar or pig out there and he plans on killing it. He's even doing this creepy little laugh while he's prepping his pig's spear. That's my interpretation of his laugh. So that's kind of funny. But we get into a reward challenge. Now, this challenge requires you... Okay, so one person is chosen to be a weight bearer, and the other tribe has to put buckets of water on them as they're lifting the weight. And once they run out of buckets, they just have to like go full endurance and beat it out against the other person. Whoever lasts the longest wins the reward. In this case, it would be fishing gear. Now, this challenge is actually originally aired in last season, but unfortunately, they didn't show it, which leads me to wonder why. Why didn't they show this challenge? It would have been fun to see who was the weight bearers and who was lifting it. Was it because of like recording issues, or was there too much time with it that couldn't be fully put in the video or the episode? I wondered that to myself, and I want to know what your guys' thoughts about it. I think like that would be something interesting to talk about. But no, we get into this challenge, and Colby is the weight bearer for Ogakor, while Michael's the weight bearer for Kucha. And as this challenges go, after all the buckets were loaded on there, Michael and Colby were battling out, and all of a sudden Michael's pole breaks, and everybody assumed that Ogakor won, but because Michael's pole broke, the challenge wasn't officially over yet. So they're going to try that again. This time, they have to load as many buckets as they can in 5 minutes. Whoever has the least buckets wins the reward. And in this case, it was Ogakor. So even though Ogakor lost the immunity challenge in the last episode, they still will get a good chance of winning immunity. Oh wait, reward. I meant to say reward. So they got that going for them. Then we get into the immunity challenge, and in immunity, it's basically an obstacle course. You have to go over some logs, you have to go across a river, and then you have to make it to the finish line, all while you're all tied up with each other, which is really bad because on some tribes you got really slow people that are kind of holding you back, as we see with the Mad Dog, who's kind of stumbling a bit. Even Roger on the other tribe was stumbling a bit, which is unfortunate. But in the end, the tribe who succeeded was once again Kucha. Kucha was safe again from tribal council. Ogakor wasn't. Now, as they get into the idea of who they want to vote out, Keith was talking about keeping Mad Dog over Mitchell because he sees Mitchell as not much of a productive person in the camp and was not even doing that much progress in the challenges. Well, he sees some strength in Mad Dog, but Mitch was kind of offended by that. And although we don't see a vote go for Keith, we do see that Keith is starting to like gain tension from other tribe mates other than Jerry. Another person who was talked about absolutely was Jerry because of her villain-like deceivement, and also Mad Dog because of her performances and challenges. Even though Tina loves Mad Dog, she still did vote for her because she didn't want to keep losing, which is unfortunate because they both like each other and they both had a good friendship after that. So, even though Mad Dog's a very loving woman and she's very caring towards others, and even the tribe loves her, she ends up getting voted out because she has the most votes, and then Jerry had another vote, and then Mitchell had another vote. They both had one vote, but the rest were for Mad Dog. And before she left, Mad Dog gave her hat to Amber, and Mad Dog was the third person voted out. So that's unfortunate. Now, we get into the part of the podcast where I read a question from you guys, and I would give you my answer and show you my advanced knowledge of Survivor and how much I know about it. In this case, this question says, where was Survivor the Australian Outback originally filmed? Now, okay, this season was filmed at the Goshen Ranch Station near the Herbert River in Queensland, Australia. And I always said to myself, where's the Australian Outback? And I did my research. It was actually in Queensland, which is cool. Okay, I said to myself, one of these days I would love to go to Australia. Mostly because of the Australian Outback, but also because I would love to go see the Australian Zoo. I always wanted to see that ever since I was a kid. And I don't know, if I ever get to go to Australia and do some traveling one of these days, Australia is definitely on my list to travel. But with that said, thank you guys for listening to my podcast. Oh boy, I'm excited to get going with this season. I absolutely love Australia, and doing the Australian Outback has been a lot of fun. I've loved the first 3 episodes since then, and I'm excited to continue watching more and tell you guys more about it. But with that said, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoy listening and getting to be outsmarted, outclassed, and outspoken with the Survivor Savant podcast. Until next time, this is Nathan Newport, signing out.